always knew I was destined to escape my hometown. There was nothing inherently wrong about it, but I felt I would never make my own life choices if I was still known as Rex's daughter who was not going to be a doctor, or Candy's girl that isn't quite as pretty as she was at that age. In order to get out and go far away for college, I had to be special. And not just good grades special, but oh my God, she did. What? Special. So when I was choosing my high school language requirement, my eyes lit up when I saw that Russian was an option. I mean, have you seen Mikhail Baryshnikov in White Knights? Hello! Now, little did I know, in the frigid spring of 1990, I would find myself spending a month as an exchange student in the Soviet Union, longing for an entirely different kind of escape. The nauseating Aeroflot flight to Moscow kept me from sleeping, but I was thrilled to hear my host mother, Anya, had traveled the entire day to meet me. I was excited to meet her and my host sister. With no siblings near my age, the anticipation of having a Soviet gal pal show me the sights of Leningrad had me on pins and needles. As Anya gathered me in a tight hug and gazed at me as if I had ascended from heaven, I thought she must be a wonderful mother to her daughter. Где дочь? Where is your daughter? I had been told she spoke little English. Нет, дочь. 2 Two sons. I was exhausted, I was furious, but I was still Southern and therefore exceedingly polite. So, after crying all night on the midnight train to Leningrad, I washed my face and kept a brave smile when I was introduced to the rest of my host family. Andrei, my host student, was my age, pale, and said maybe 5 words to me the entire month. Vova, his older brother, was a tall university student with piercing eyes and an impressive mop of curls. Alexei, my host father, was balding, alcoholic, and thankfully rarely home. I was ushered into the living room where I would be sleeping for a month. By Soviet standards, my host family's flat was spacious, but there was no hiding the fact that it was never meant for guests. My education in life as a Soviet student began. Bundled in a wool sweater and skirt topped with my first ever down coat, Andrei and I took the metro daily to Leningrad's Special School 52. Here, Soviet students were immersed in English from day one. To match with our proficiency in Russian, we attended class with 8-year-olds. But the little ones were sweet and excited to share Snatchki trading pens, teach us a song about bagels, and ask us about American TV. And after school, we took in the city and its people. As I left any home, I would find my coat pockets filled with chocolate, the best I'd ever tasted. Even in the frigid air, I became a fan of the street vendors' ice cream, morozhenoye. I was photographed eating fresh fruit, a delicacy, as proof we were being properly nourished. We toured L'Ermitage, the Winter Palace, and Petrovorets, the Summer Palace. Both were filled with so much beauty it took my breath away. Dozens of Fabergé eggs were on display, along with exquisite carpentry, gilded sculptures, and fine oil paintings depicting leisurely country life from the days of Tsarist Russia. Just outside the ornate gates, our eyes were assaulted with reminders that those days were done. Stark, gray cement architecture of the communist regime. And everywhere we went, the metro station, the library, the market with its barren shelves, I saw Vladimir Lenin. Whether it was a bust, a billboard, or a patch on a government official's uniform, he was a constant presence. His gaze was inescapable. So was my host mother's. Anya watched over me like a hawk, her arm tightly hooked in mine whenever we walked outside, her tss, and whenever I declined a second helping of the meal she prepared. I was used to a pretty independent existence in my hometown. I drove a car, did the family grocery shopping, and had a job. Having to depend on someone was unnerving, and I soon tired of the attention. But because I was there for an entire month, I eventually needed her help in disposing of some personal items. And we had a good laugh over how, as long as it was wrapped in newspaper, the men would never notice. Using the little English she knew, she told me how, when she was pregnant with Andre, she had prayed for a girl. The doctor told her she should be expecting one, and so when the day finally came, while she was happy the baby was healthy, she was crushed that she did not have a daughter. I cried for years, she said. It was then that I realized I wasn't there to teach the sons about American customs. I was there to give Anya a daughter, even if only for a month. I softened and told her she would be a good mother-in-law one day. Bad news. The next day was supposed to be a class trip to Pushkin, home of the legendary Russian poet. I, however, had been pulled from the activity to attend a full 4-hour opera production of Don Quixote, escorted by Vova, the older brother. He knocked on my door, and I opened it to see Anya's attempt at a setup. Vova's wild curly hair had been combed into a little afro. His rarely worn suit was a little too small, and Anya was peeking around from the kitchen with a hopeful smile on her face. Oh dear. To his credit, Vova caught that I had no interest, and he was similarly annoyed at the matchmaking attempt. But we talked, for the first time really, and he told me how he dreamed of being an engineer in Europe. He was a university student, so that seemed normal to me. But to him, it was a far-fetched possibility. He would soon be told where he would work, and that was that. There was no escaping the government's decision. When we returned that evening, Anya quickly read that Vova and I were not a match. And as my departure day approached, her sadness was palpable. She plied me with grapefruit, Elizabeth Taylor's favorite. And my favorite breakfast treat, blini. We walked the streets, arm in arm, and I started to like how she gave me an extra squeeze just before we crossed the street. While I knew I wouldn't miss her hovering, I started to feel grateful for the boring hometown existence I thought I needed to escape from so desperately. It was exhausting being so special. Who knew this is what it entailed? As I gathered my bags by the door, she ushered me into the living room, which I neatly returned to its original state. Sit, she said. I did. And she sat beside me, my hands in hers, and held my gaze. Prayer of any kind was not allowed in communist society, but she wanted to send me with her blessing. So we sat, for what seemed like an eternity, and I felt her forbidden prayer for a safe journey settle over me. I was surprised at the tears that fell as she walked me to the train station. And then, one last squeeze from Anya, I escaped the Soviet Union. Okay, I'm being dramatic. But I did eventually escape my hometown, thanks to this juicy tidbit on my college resume. Sometimes I wonder if Andre escaped his shell. If Vova got the opportunity to work in Italy, like he dreamed. And if either of them brought home a nice girl who became a daughter-in-law to Anya. She deserves someone to squeeze on a regular basis.